Midnight. The room is quiet, but your mind isn't. You replay the day like a scene you can't stop rewinding. The side glances at lunch, the group chat that fell strangely silent, the friend who used to text first, now answering with one-word replies. No fight, no obvious mistake, just a sudden chill, as if someone dimmed the lights on your life and didn't tell you why. Your chest tightens. You scan the hours for clues and come up empty. So what changed? Why do people turn against you when you've done nothing wrong, or at least nothing you can see? Beneath the surface of ordinary moments, there is a hidden theater where unspoken fears and unlived desires project themselves onto whoever happens to glow a little brighter that day. You feel the heat of that projection without knowing its source. Jung believed that when the house lights go down in this inner theater, the audience turns on the actor. But what if their sudden rejection isn't about you at all, but about what you reflect back to them? What if your sensitivity, your rare capacity to sense tension before anyone names it, is the magnet drawing their shadows into focus? And what if the only escape leads through the most dangerous doorway of all, the door to your own shadow? This isn't just psychology, it's survival. Because when the crowd turns, your identity is next. And yet, Jung discovered something even more disturbing. The moment you feel unfairly targeted may be the moment you're closest to becoming who you truly are.
Jung watched again and again as people were pushed to the edges of their families, friend groups, and workplaces without a single clear offense. He saw a subtler law at work, a psychological gravity that moves in shadows. When a community cannot face its own fear, envy, or aggression, it quietly appoints a carrier. Someone becomes the screen for what everyone refuses to see. The mood shifts, the air thickens, whispers start to braid into stories, and suddenly the chosen person is difficult, selfish, too intense. Jung called this projection, an unconscious export of the unwanted self onto a nearby figure who happens to be sensitive enough to register the tension and honest enough to disturb it. He noticed that the targets are often those who are becoming more themselves, setting boundaries, speaking plainly, glowing a little more. Growth acts like a lantern. It lights the room and exposes the dust. Groups that secretly rely on harmony at any cost cannot tolerate that light for long, so they turn. Yet Jung's observation cut deeper. This drama is never only outside. The same forces live within us. If we do not claim our anger, our ambition, our need, they will appear in others as threats. The turning becomes a mirror, and the mirror demands a reckoning.
Jung left us signposts that feel almost eerily precise. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Hear the double edge in that line. The moment someone's behavior needles you, it is not merely proof of their flaw. It is a flashlight pointing into your own unlit room. Instead of escalating the conflict, he invites a pause. What exactly am I reacting to, and where does it live in me? Then he raises the stakes. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. He is not against light, he is against denial. The way out is through, not around. When you are suddenly treated like a problem, the work is not to polish your surface, but to meet the part of you that frightens others precisely because they have refused to meet it in themselves. He also wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Relationships are not just comfort, they are alchemy. If your growth sparks anxiety in someone, you are witnessing chemistry in motion, and chemistry is messy. Jung's words decode the moment of turning. Projection ignites, resistance rises, and the invitation is to transform rather than retaliate. Now step into a quiet consulting room where this story first took shape. A patient sits with hands folded, voice careful, as if each word might awaken something sleeping in the walls. Night after night, she dreams a long corridor lit by candles. Faces line the hall. At first, they simply watch her pass. Then, without warning, they turn their backs in perfect unison. Days mirror nights. At work, conversations hush when she approaches. At home, warmth thins to politeness. She has not broken a rule, at least not one that was spoken aloud. She has simply become more visible, more herself, less willing to carry what was never hers. Jung listens for the rhythm beneath her story and hears it clearly. When a group cannot face its fear, envy, or aggression, it appoints a carrier. The chosen person begins to wear the crowd's hidden feelings like an ill-fitting coat. Over time, the coat feels like skin, and the person confuses projection with identity. The first step is the moment the coat is recognized and carefully removed. Fast forward to the present, where modern research sharpens the picture. In laboratories, meeting rooms, and long-term studies, patterns echo what Jung heard. Under stress, groups stabilize themselves through projection and scapegoating. The person most attuned to subtle shifts becomes the lightning rod. Highly sensitive observers read the room too well. The room resents the reader. Social exclusion studies reveal how tension disperses through silence, through inside jokes that seal one member out, through narratives that feel factual because many mouths repeat them. Neuroscience adds texture. The threat of ostracism lights up the brain's pain centers. This is not just an idea, it is a bodily alarm. The data does not blame individuals. It maps the weather systems of belonging and banishment, showing how a climate can turn cold while insisting it is only being objective. Here's the map: types, stages, and the hidden dangers to watch for. Shadow assignment. The group invests you with the qualities it cannot admit, then punishes you for carrying them. Admiration flip. Praise curdles into envy when your growth threatens someone's self-story. Boundary backlash. Your clean no exposes their dependency on your old yes. Collective scapegoat. The crowd needs a release valve, and you become it. Moral panic. Emotion dresses as ethics so the attack feels righteous. These types unfold through stages so ordinary they almost camouflage themselves. Discomfort, late replies, tight shoulders, thin smiles. Narrative, a soft story forms about how you have changed. Recruitment, side conversations, gentle warnings, subtle tests of loyalty. Punishment, invitations vanish, opportunities drift, your competence is questioned with a shrug. Rationalization, the group rewrites the past to justify the present and insists it had no choice. Seeing the sequence restores clarity. You are not imagining the plot because it is a plot. This is the counterspell, Jung's path to integration. First, name the projection. Say quietly to yourself, "This may not be mine." Keep a simple ledger of what is being placed on you and when. Next, withdraw your own projections. Ask who carries what you dislike in yourself and call that energy home. Then enter active imagination. Sit with the image of the corridor and ask the turning faces what they fear. Listen. Draw what you see. Write what they answer. Reclaim the disowned quality in its mature form. If you are accused of being selfish, practice healthy self-interest in small daily acts. If you are called arrogant, practice clean pride. Name your contribution without apology or superiority. Stabilize the body so the mind can tell the truth. Breathe slowly, feel your feet, see the entire room. Set boundaries with warmth, not contempt. Choose a smaller, truer audience for your becoming. Individuation is not a town hall. It is a steady, private apprenticeship to your own depth. Two paths show the stakes. One collapses, one transforms. In the first, a talented colleague senses the shift and panics. He over-explains, over-promises, and quietly gossips to secure allies. The group's story tightens around him, manipulative, dramatic, untrustworthy. He fights the projection by performing it, and in the end he leaves, certain that others were blind and never curious about his own shadow. In the second path, a woman notices the temperature drop the moment she advocates for fair pay. Rumors attach, greedy, cold, disruptive. She takes each word to her journal and meets it. Greedy becomes a commitment to name value clearly and accept fair exchange. Cold becomes calm presence with visible warmth. Disruptive becomes the courage to introduce honest friction where systems need it. She brings data, breadth, and boundaries to a quiet meeting and names the narrative without accusation. Two allies speak up. The tone shifts, not because she wins the crowd, but because she stops abandoning herself. She refuses the costume, and without their actor, the scene cannot continue. And finally, the message of hope that turns rejection into initiation. What begins as turning against you can become turning toward yourself. Jung's promise is stern and tender. Know your shadow so you cannot be reduced to anyone else's version of you. When you stop acting the assigned role, the play collapses. Some relationships recalibrate around your fuller shape. Others end because that shape will not fit their script. Either way, the cost of belonging shrinks
and the truth of belonging grows. The corridor remains, but the candles burn brighter. Faces may still turn, and yet you keep walking, anchored by a name you no longer outsource to a crowd. You have not escaped the theater. You have learned to direct your part. And that is how the unseen battle is won.
If you recognize yourself in these scenes, the mirror that makes others uneasy, the barometer that senses the storm before a single drop falls, then this is your moment to step forward. You do not need permission to stop carrying the projections that were never yours. You do not have to argue with every rumor or correct every sideways glance. Breathe. Name what is yours and what is not. Then choose one small, courageous act that aligns with who you are becoming. Ask for clarity instead of guessing. Say no without a novel of apology. Speak one honest sentence you have delayed for years. Let the world react how it will. Your task is simpler and harder. Remain faithful to your center. When you feel the old panic rise, the urge to explain yourself into exhaustion, place a hand on your heart, feel the ground, and remember that individuation is not a popularity contest. It is a homecoming. The people who can meet you will find you more easily when you stop dimming your light to keep the room comfortable. Here is your invitation tonight. Write down the 3 qualities you are most often accused of being too much of. Then write their mature form beside them. Too sensitive becomes finely attuned. Too ambitious becomes purpose-driven. Too intense becomes deeply alive. Practice these forms on purpose. Let your nervous system learn that safety is not the same as self-erasure. Now I want to hear from you. What quality do others most misread in you? And what is its healthy, integrated expression when you carry it with awareness? If this helped you find language for what you have been living, subscribe and stay close. There is more to uncover, more to name, more to reclaim, step by step, shadow by shadow. And a final teaser for what comes next. In our next episode, we enter the darker room, the collective shadow, where entire groups go blind together and where one awake person can change the script for everyone. Keep walking. The corridor is long, but the candles are already brighter.